Welcome to the FemiNinja Project. I am your host, Cheryl Ilove, middle-aged ninja hiding in plain sight, dedicated to restoring human dignity one person at a time and helping you unleash your personal power. Discover that it's possible to look like a woman, act like a lady, move like a ninja, and think like a warrior. And remember, men are always welcome on the FemiNinja Project. Hello and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And thank you so much for tuning in. And as you know by now, this show is all about empowerment. It's all about lifelong learning. It's all about exploring different opportunities to learn to improve the quality of your life. And I've got a guest today who knows a whole lot about that. His name is Ando Mierzwa. And he is a coach, a tutor, a teacher, and a martial artist. I call him a martial artist extraordinaire. He might not agree with me. And his tagline is to fight for a happy life. This guy is amazing. I have been stalking him online for a couple of years, so I am so honored to have him on the show. Ando, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Sensei Ilove, wow, thank you so much for that great introduction. I am so pumped right now. I can't wait to hear this guy speak. Is that me? Oh, no.
That is you.
I'm so disappointed in myself. Yeah, no, I'm pumped. It's an honor to connect finally face to face, so to speak. I know we've interacted for years now, and I know that we're on a same mission here to spread health and happiness any way we can, particularly through movement arts. So I think we'll get along just great. I'm very excited about this. Thank you for having me.
And if we don't get along, it's okay because we're so far away, we can't hurt each other.
That's right. It's at least one plane ride to settle it. So you can get a good night's sleep and then deal with it tomorrow.
So, okay, now that you mentioned that just triggered something in my memory because one of the first times I saw you online, you were so funny. You were running up and down some bleachers, the steps of a bleachers in Los Angeles and talking about being 40 and you're huffing and puffing and everything. And I thought, this guy has got something going on. I could train with him.
That would be great. Are you coming out to the bleachers? Let's do
it. No, because at the time you were 40 and you're talking about being 40 and I'm sitting there watching this going, amateur. I've got at least 10 plus years on you. So no bleachers for me, but training, you betcha. So anyhow, tell us how you got involved in martial arts in the first place.
Well, martial arts to me was the one-stop shopping for everything that made me happy in life. It was some philosophy. It was physical fitness. It was kind of this need to control things. I felt as a young man, life was a little chaotic, maybe looking for father figures, all kinds of things that as I look back, make sense to me now. At the time, it was like, well, that's cool. Maybe wasn't sure why at the time, but now I just see how many needs that it answered. So yeah, in short, as an insecure young guy looking for direction and role models, I saw people like Bruce Lee and I thought, wow, this guy is confident. He's thin like me. He's not a big muscle guy. If martial arts is the tool that he's used to gain this kind of confidence and swagger and seemingly peace with the world, then I'm going to try that. And that's what began many years ago. And I'm still going at it.
So how old were you when you started?
I was in my early teens. I have a brother, so we were always fighting. But formally, when I finally said, who's this Bruce Lee guy? And I was able to get to a library and find a book and then set up a bag in my garage and start beating stuff up and bringing friends over and starting this journey into martial arts. I was in my early to mid-teens. And then it took me a couple years to figure out that I can't learn everything in the garage and I would need to move on and find an actual teacher. So that took me a little while until I was about 18 or 19. But teens, right when it really started to mean something and I was aware of what was happening. I wasn't just a 5-year-old thrown in. I was making choices. I wanted to be in this and I was dedicating myself to it right from the beginning. And I don't think I've missed many days of training ever since.
So you were hooked right from the very beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, part of that might just be an inborn compulsion factor. But I think it's more because I've never found anything that pays you back more than martial arts. Every training session I put in, I get so much out of, and I've never regretted a training day in my life. And I'm just excited to do it again and again. As soon as we're done talking, I'm going to go hit that thing over there. So yeah, I'm all in for sure.
So I like the way you said with every single time that you train, you get something out of it. Because no matter how long you've done it or how many years that you've trained, every single time you go into class or go into a training session, you come out with something new or something different.
Yes, 100%. And I know you more than most will appreciate that, because I know from listening to your other episodes and seeing your blog that we're changing, we're organisms. And I think some people fall into this trap of thinking like the body that you're born with or the body that you had in your teens or your early 20s is the same body that you have in your 30s, 40s, 50s. I'm 50 now, and my body is certainly different than it was when I was a teenager. And I've noticed that if I don't update my software, so to speak, and keep exploring different training modalities and pushing myself in different ways, then I just get smaller and more limited and frozen. And you don't have to be that way. I've heard you speak before about the neuroplasticity and how this is not something that ends early in life. It's something that's ongoing if you make the effort. So I always get something out of my training sessions because I'm always looking around to see, like, what are you guys doing with your feet? And how do you guys deal with your core? What is your exercise for necks? I'm always trying to integrating something. And then, as you know, once you change one little thing, however small that might be, it sets off a chain reaction through your whole body, which then sets off changes in how you move and how your techniques have to be updated. So you're just constantly by the time you finish painting your house, you have to start over and put a new coat of paint on the house. There's always something new to update. So I find that exhilarating, not depressing, because I still think it makes me the best I can be at any given moment. So I encourage everyone to update your software.
Oh, that's so well said. And I just love that your energy and the excitement and the way you said how you get so much out of it. It's almost like you get expansive. You actually grow and change. And that's one of my big pet peeves is when people say, well, this is the way I am and I'm kind of stuck with this. I've got this injury, or I was born this way. My parents were like this. And, you can change anything with the right attention, intention, and attention to your body, to your movements, and to how you're feeling internally as you do that. I mean, it's a lifelong journey. And I think we could continue to improve, even as we age. I mean, I'm in better shape now than I was when I was 40, which, yay, that's awesome. I get tired probably a little bit more, but it's a lifelong journey. Our bodies are so amazing and they respond so well to positive and negative input, but the more positive input and feedback you can have, it's just to me, it's the secret of youth, and it's the fountain of youth.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. We're not just brains sitting in a test tube somewhere. We are physical beings, and it works both ways. Thoughts will influence how you move, but also how you move will influence how you think. So it would be very sad if anyone limited their thoughts, therefore limiting how they move, or if they limited their bodies, which would then therefore limit how they think. They go together. And that's why martial arts is so wonderful, or many of the movement arts, because you get to think and you have aesthetic ideas in your head, but at the same time, you have to test them out and move and test where is your body today at this age, in this mood. It's just, to me, it is expansive. It just, your view of yourself grows because you've seen yourself in good moods and bad moods moving this way. You've seen yourself with injuries or arthritis, but you're still learning more about you, and your character is just getting deeper and deeper the more you keep coming back to it and doing it over and over again. So yes, I agree. It's interesting when you say that about, I think what you said, I'm sorry, right at the beginning, you said about use the word improve. Earlier you said the word change. And I think some people, yes, we can always change. And I think some people make a mistake of thinking that change should mean, and then I'll be perfect, or change. Well, I can't do that. I'm not a flexible person and I can't change. It's like, well, don't think about the change. Just think about the improvement. Maybe you won't be doing full splits, but if you can gain 5% mobility in your hip joint, that will be a huge ripple effect through your life and through your sense of self-empowerment. And I believe that once you prove to yourself you can improve 5% there, imagine improving 5% in every one of your joints. Now you've got this synergy going where your whole life is going to be different. So I'm sorry to interrupt there, but yes,
Oh, no,
improvement is the key.
That was great. That was a wonderful interruption. I love that. And I love the way right away you targeted on the hip joint, which is one of my favorite joints as a physical therapist. It's like, oh, it's such a beautiful joint. But when we limit the range of motion, it's that nice circular movement that you get in the hip joint. And the way that we use it in everyday life is more like a hinge joint, front and back, front and back, front and back. And then all the soft tissue surrounding that joint gets tighter and tighter and tighter. We lose function. Then we start to get arthritis. Oh my gosh, I'm getting old. I'm going to need a hip replacement. And that's really not necessary. And one of the things that you talked about too was the movement arts. And as you probably know, I do a lot of different
everything.
No, not everything, but I do a lot of different movement arts. And I came to martial arts at the age of 47. And I didn't go willingly. Oh, trust me, I did not go willingly. There's a big, long story. That's another book. But one of the things about martial arts, because you get that kind of benefit from any of the movement arts that really, embrace the mind-body connection. But there's something about martial arts that's so organic or visceral or empowering. And even after my very first class, and I was terrified. I was a middle-aged ballerina surrounded by a bunch of Neanderthals. I was the only woman there. And it was just absolutely terrifying. But even once class was over and I had survived, I was driving home going, I feel really good. It was something I couldn't explain or describe, but there's something that is so empowering about being able to be in a situation like that, move your body in that way. It's just, like I said, it's so visceral and organic. And as my sensei would say, it's natural movement. And I'd be shaking my head going, there's nothing natural about this. So it took a couple of years for me to realize that.
I'm so glad that you are out here preaching the benefits of martial arts, and to hear you say that you started at 47.
Yeah.
I hope anybody listening who's not involved with martial arts, please, you don't have to believe me. Of course, I'm going to tell you to go take a class somewhere doing something, but listen to Cheryl. Trust Cheryl. You're listening to the show because you like her and you trust her. So if you haven't looked into a martial arts program, please do. It is scary, perhaps. It might be weird. Most things are scary and weird in the beginning, but I do believe, again, that investment is the best one you'll ever make, providing you find a club that you fit in with and that you feel safe and they're sensitive to you. I'm not here to say that every martial arts school is the same. Of course, they're not. But even if you have a not so great experience that first time out, don't give up on martial arts. Maybe seek a different teacher, a different club. I do believe there's a martial art for everyone. And in this day and age, when you can connect with people on the internet, even to get that journey started, please do that. If you remember nothing else, please give martial arts a try, because I agree with you 100%. I think there's something about it that is just a little, I'm going to say better. You don't have to say it. Better than yoga or dance or other movement arts. There is there's a relationship factor that martial arts provides that I don't think any other movement art provides. It's much more personal when someone's choking you or putting a knife at your throat. And you have to not only know you, but know your partner and still be able to work through that relationship is something very unique to martial arts. And I encourage everyone to give it a try. Don't be afraid.
Well, that's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on the show. One of many is because of your attitude about martial arts, your spirit, your energy, the way you teach, because of course you do have a lot of videos online and a training program and even a little bit of self-defense. You can talk about that. I would love to hear more about that. And I know my audience would too. It's just something that is so scary at first, because when you think of traditional martial arts, a lot of people think of the whole, roar and, let's kick butt and very serious. And thank goodness I ended up in a dojo, which was just kind of the opposite. It's a very, I don't want to say elite. It's a very classical, ancient Japanese style martial art, Nimpo Taijutsu. So it was very, in a lot of the, like the Rei-In and a lot of the what's the word, the philosophy and everything. However, when it came down to training with the partners, everybody was so relaxed and we were having so much fun. And even one time my dad came out to visit and I took him to the dojo because he had had a black belt in karate and tried for years to get me and my sisters to go train with him to learn some things. It's like, ooh, icky, icky. No, never going to do that. Hello, let me go get my nails done. And then all of a sudden, it's like, his 47-year-old fussy little daughter is taking martial arts. So when he came to watch a class, and I think I was just a yellow belt at the time, and when we left, he said one of the things that impressed him the most was how much fun we were having. He said, if you laughed and carried on like that in his gym, you'd get thrown out of class. And I'm like, well, that's not fun. But you really have to be fun, have to have fun to learn. I mean, if you're intimidated, you're not going to learn. So there are a lot of different schools out there. And just, you got to just keep looking and try and find the right one that suits you. I ended up in a school with pretty much, 99.9% men. And at first it was terrifying, but then it was like, kind of liked the odds. It was really fun.
Yeah, I just one little clarification I'll throw in there is, again, we're all requiring different teacher styles to get where we want to go. For you to be able to build a bridge through having fun and laughter, that was important to you. For me as a young man, if it was about fun, then I probably would have left because that's not what I really needed. What I needed was somebody to yell at me, alpha male me, put me in my place, tell me to shut up, get in line, and respect people. Because at the time, I was more of a wise guy, sarcastic, didn't really respect authority, was always questioning, who are you to tell me anything? So for my journey, at that time, I needed a teacher who was not fun at all, would need that military thing. But couple years out, then I realized that's not really what I need anymore. Now I would like a more nurturing side. And I feel I've got those issues out of my way. I've got some discipline now and I respect what's going on. So now I can be a little more fun. So again, that's why I say to anyone who's going to try martial arts, you may find a club that meets you emotionally halfway. Like, okay, we can have a little fun here. This makes it better. Great. Or if that doesn't work for you, go try a different club where they might say, hey, get in line. And you might say, oh, that's awesome. I need structure. I'd like clear cut lines, what's right and what's wrong. Maybe to you, that's what's important. And then that'll change. That's fine too. So whatever it takes, again, there's so many different styles out there and so many different teachers out there. There really is something, I think, for everyone. So just get started and then you'll know more about yourself of what you need. And then you can make the next step even wiser.
I got all of that yelling and screaming and discipline and get in line and blah, blah, blah from ballet class. So I was ready to have a little bit of fun and loosen up a little bit.
Ballet is definitely harder than martial arts. I don't pretend it's not. Oh.
It's different. It's just different. Yeah, I mean, at least you didn't have quite as much of the problem with body image, in martial arts because I'm wearing a big baggy gi and nobody could even tell, that I have a figure under all of this, which was fine. It was a really nice break. Yeah. So anyway, let's just change the subject because there's something else that I find very fascinating about you. And that is that pie is life.
Pie. Who doesn't like pie? Is there anything friendlier than showing up at someone's home with a pie? I mean, what says love more universally than a pie? Yeah, I've kind of stuck onto pie as my icon of choice, just because I think it represents something wholesome and simple, something friendly, something not intimidating, something you can always sit down and share. My dream when I can restructure now after COVID with a new school will to always be having pies on hand so we can have a class and then sit around and have a little pie afterwards. I just think that's the tone I want in my school. If you're not into pie, then you don't have to drop by. But the lights will be on and there's one in the oven for you if you want to come by.
Awesome. Do you bake your own?
I'm starting to bake more now that we've been quarantined. I did get into a little bit of pie baking now, and I'm not kidding. Now that I've seen the perils of having a dojo only business model, I think it's important that I have a bakery / dojo so that I have a second source of income in the future. Yes.
When I was much younger, like in my early 20s, maybe even up to 30, I had this vision that this dream that one of these days I was going to open up my own ballet studio, small little
Mm.
ballet studio. And I don't knit anymore. I haven't been knitting for a couple of years, but I'm like a master knitter. I
Mm.
love to knit. I mean, it's just so much fun and so
Mm.
relaxing once you know what you're doing. And I had this vision that I was going to have a combination ballet studio and yarn shop. And I would call it either the knit and split or the
Ooh,
pearl and twirl. Doesn't that sound good?
I like all of that. Yeah. If
Yeah.
you're not going to do it, I'm sure some listeners now is going to go, now anything that rhymes. I'm a sucker for
Yeah.
rhyming.
I am too. I am too. So, okay, pie. Love that. Now, how did you come up with your tagline? Fight for a happy life.
Well, it kind of just expresses everything I'm about. I do believe fighting is a word that most people don't feel comfortable using. Most good people, I should say, were raised to believe that fighting is bad. And yet you should fight disease, fight injustice, fight for equal rights. There's all kinds of things we fight for.
Mhm.
But in the context of self-defense, like, oh, you're a fighter, somehow that seems like a dirty word. So I want to make sure that people can start associating fighting with happiness, fighting with success, fighting with goodness. It's very sad if good guys running around, and I believe there's way more good guys than bad guys in the
Mhm.
world, but if the bad guys have no problem fighting for what they want, and the good guys always kind of eschew that word and say, oh, no, I don't want to be thought of as a fighter, and I don't want to fight, and I don't want to get into a fight, then we're going to lose. Good guys will lose over and over again because we're not in the right mindset. I think as long as you're fighting for a good cause, then you should be proud to call yourself a fighter and fight hard every day for what you believe in. So fighting for a happy life is simply like, hey, let's all get together. All you good guys and good gals, let's all get together. Let's declare it's okay to be a fighter. And what's our goal here? Let's build a happy life for myself, for my family, and for my community.
Mhm.
This is, I think, what life should be about.
Well, that's also the philosophy of most martial arts and martial artists, because I know I talk a lot about the warrior and, the warrior spirit, which is the same thing. People say, can't we just have peace and can't we all just get along? Well, yeah, but that's the spirit of the warrior is actually a compassionate heart, a heart of generosity and love and looking out for other people. It's not about fighting or warfare. It's about taking care of your family, yourself, your community. But when somebody crosses the line, the ability to say, that's not okay, and we're not going to let you get away with this. I said no, and you didn't respect that. And then we might have a little bit of a problem. But, I think that there is that negative connotation, but we have to fight for everything that we get in life anyway. And it doesn't mean you have to fight and resist. A lot of the fighting means even going with the flow sometimes.
Well, that's a valid strategy. No,
Yeah.
it's not always about move forward, punch, punch, punch.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's about step back and let them overplay their hand. So this is
Mm-hmm.
just part of a well-rounded strategy at being a fighter. So that's why it's important that we study fighting in its
Mm-hmm.
very primal looking, like, okay, actual blows going back and forth. But when you then expound on that and say, okay, but what's happening here? There's someone
Mm-hmm.
trying to exert their will. Someone else has an opposite will. Now, who's going to win? Will it just be the bigger, stronger, louder person? Or is it the smarter, clever person who can turn a little bit, yield a little bit, try a different tactic, change plans, improvise, trust themselves? There's so many life skills involved in a good fight, if you're a good fighter, that is why you can, that's what should then be applied to the rest of your life. That's why I love martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely honest if it's trained well, I think. And it's just this little laboratory where you can come in with your attitude and say, oh, I'm tough and I'm awesome. But then you get punched right in the face. And now you have a decision to make. Do I make excuses and run away and say they're all jerks and stop my training? Or do you say, okay, maybe I'm not as tough and as smart as I think I am. I need to come back with a new plan. Now I'm going to get smarter. And if I'm wise, I'll listen to the people who've been through this before. So now I'm going to respect other people. And there we go. Now we're already building a different kind of a life. It's not all about me being great. It's about me being humble and listening to other people's experiences so that I can come back and make my life better. And now there's a cycle going on. And then hopefully I'll turn around and help someone else with what I've learned. And now it's a perfect life.
Well, and that's a perfect segue because I'd like to have you talk a little bit about your videos because you do talk a lot about this in short clip videos, explaining different techniques, explaining about like foot movement, kicks, getting out of the way. You cover an awful lot of information, but in short little clips that are easy to digest, and they're very, very helpful. I mean, as a martial artist, it's like, my gosh, this guy is like a master communicator.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to stutter now that you've set me up.
Sorry.
Let me get my druthers here. Well, the YouTube thing has been really fun. I started making videos 6 years ago. That was after 2 years of doing podcasts. I didn't think anyone in the world would be interested in what I had to say about martial arts. So I wanted to just start a podcast talking about the philosophy of martial arts. After 2 years, the numbers weren't all that impressive. So I thought, well, maybe I could, before I shut down the website, maybe I'll try a couple of videos. And to my surprise, my great surprise and happy surprise, people responded to the videos far more than the podcast. And I thought, well, this is interesting. So I've been doing that for a few years, just making, as you say, shorter videos. And now I've seen the limitations in that effort. And now I've begun a weekly commitment to doing full length 40, 45-minute classes every week for free on YouTube. So I welcome anyone to drop by for a nice mix of fundamental movement drills and a little bit of philosophy and my best advice for a happy life. And that's every week. So everyone's always welcome.
Wow. And it's free.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just post these on YouTube every Sunday. I put up a new workout. We're up to number 6, I think, right now. I've got a couple more coming. So yeah, this is my new thing. I'm just going to start just teaching full classes. Many of us are still stuck at home. Don't have our schools. Our schools got shut down. So I just felt, hey, you know what? Why don't I just start teaching classes?
Oh, good for you. That's really funny because I just had a breakthrough recently too. I closed my office. I had my own private practice for about 18 years. And I closed it about 3.5 years ago for, various reasons. And I didn't miss it at first. And lately it's like, I really want to be able to teach people some of the work that I do. And finally it was like, I'm going to start coaching people online, doing private sessions and teaching the same way that I did before when I had my private practice. So it's something that was really missing in my life. And I already have a couple of people, that I'm working with. And it's like, okay, now I'm whole again. This part was missing. And I think that's one of the few blessings that came out of COVID is that we really need to be true to ourselves and fulfill our own, not our own needs, but our own gifts that we share with the world or that we want to share with the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If that's your DNA. And I think most good people are at heart givers and sharers, and they want to help other people. And it's absolutely worth find a little bit of experimenting to figure out how you can best do that. If that means just volunteering at your local church or whatever, great. If that's your capacity. If you feel you're a communicator that can handle I like how I look on video and I don't mind hearing my own voice, then great. Start the podcast, open up a video channel. And you don't have to have, again, just like we were talking before about, just because you want to try to change something doesn't mean you have to make it perfect. Even a 5% increase or improvement is worthwhile. Same thing. If you make a video channel and you get 1,000 subscribers after 5 years, that's not bad. That's a great effort. You've done something amazing. Imagine 1,000 people sitting in your living room listening to what you have to say. So it's not about the numbers. It's like what you said. It's about finding that, filling the gaps in your lifestyle. And as someone, I feel very blessed. I'm going to presume you do. The teachers that I've had and the experiences that I've had, I feel just so blessed that by the time I got into my early 40s, I realized I have to turn around now and start sharing this stuff, because otherwise I feel like I'm just greedy and selfish. This has all been for me. I used to never even tell people I was involved in martial arts. It was my private thing, my little private therapy. But then when I got into my 40s, I realized, wait a minute, you're missing the boat here. Not only will you get better at martial arts by sharing it, but that's your chance to be that teacher that you valued when you were a young person coming up. So how can I not turn around and share this in one form or another? So I'm sorry you had to close your office. I had to shut down my dojo, but we find other ways that need is still there to share it. And that's, again, it helps me too. I don't want to make it sound like I'm a saint, but because I get something out of it too. I love seeing people turn on or get that little spark in their eye that I used to have. And I was like, oh my God, I remember when I had that feeling about kicks or about getting up off the ground. I mean, whatever, it's beautiful. So absolutely. I encourage everyone to find a way to share what they have, no matter what that is, on whatever level that is, because it will make you happier.
So I just have two things I wanted to say about that when you're talking about, keeping it to yourself and it was all for, you and you didn't want to share it. And it's like he wanted the entire pie.
Mm-hmm.
And now
That's
he's
right.
sharing the pie.
That's a good way to put it. Absolutely.
Everybody gets a piece.
Absolutely. Because as you know, I mean, if you go to a great restaurant, not so much nowadays, the next best thing to experiencing a great meal at a great restaurant is bringing a friend with you to say, I want you to try this. I want you to experience this now. It's the best restaurant ever. That next step of the sharing is, I think, what makes life the best. It's not enough just for me to sit at home with my favorite food. Having someone there with me that I can watch their faces, they eat it and they go, oh my gosh, this is good. That's a perfect day right there. So that's all this is.
Well, the other thing too that I thought was really interesting and I picked up on right away was that it's therapy.
Absolutely. Right?
I mean, and it is. And it's a lot cheaper than a therapist. Believe me, I tried it and it was like, this really, it doesn't work. And martial arts was like, oh, well, not only is this a lot cheaper, it's a lot more fun. It's a lot healthier for my body. And yeah, it was much better.
Absolutely. And sometimes this is something I think in the beginning, as an angry, frustrated, insecure young man, it took some time, years, and crying after class or having some real meltdowns in my car on the way home because I didn't quite understand what was happening. I didn't understand what the therapy was. It was like this tough love. I was smart enough, I give myself credit for hanging in there and not giving up, even if my motive might have been spite or a compulsion or whatever.
Yeah.
But going through that process, then coming out on the other side, I realized, oh, if I'm just honest with myself and approach this class or this lesson, not as something I have to overcome, but as something that's helping me, now I can get there sooner. It won't take me years of fighting it to make a breakthrough. I can have a breakthrough every time I train. Just come in with that open mind, be honest with myself. What's my limitation? What am I trying to test or challenge? And then see how it goes and enjoy the process and not beat myself up and judge myself. So yes, therapy, it's everything. It's my best friend. It's my therapy. It's my religion. It's everything because I'm bringing my whole self to it. If you're willing to do that, then again, it will pay you back in every facet of your life.
Another thing I wanted to point out that you said that when you train, so what really just makes me crazy is people will say to me, well, you're a black belt. Why are you training? You're a black belt. You don't need to train anymore. So here you are, you've been training. You're like an 8th degree black belt in Kung Fu. You've got a black belt in Taekwondo. I mean, you've been training for years and years and years, and yet you continue to train. And that's another thing about martial arts is the journey never really does end.
Absolutely. It's only the people outside of martial arts who think belts mean anything. Anybody in martial arts knows that doesn't mean anything. So, of course, it's just a personal journey. And I say that often to students or something and saying, what would you do in this class today if there were no belts? Would you still work out? Would you still even show up? Because if you're only here for the belt, just go home, read a book, do something else. If you understand what you're really doing here, it's not about the belt. It's about your feelings. It's about, do I feel like a better person, stronger person, wiser person after this training? If you do, you'll never leave. And that's why I go every day because I constantly get something out of it. The people who complain or say, I'm bored, I need motivation. How do you get yourself out of bed? I know already that their training has failed them. They did not go into their training or did not find a teacher that would present it to them in such a way where they would get rewards. Because I believe if you got rewards every time you trained, why would you ever stop? It's addictive. It's this constant endorphin rush. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to train. So I feel bad for people who've had bad experiences or had such self-limiting thoughts about their own life that they gave up on it. Because it's just sad because it's here for everybody. Whether it's dropping right now and doing 10 push-ups or throwing 10 punches in the air, any effort you make, if it's with an open heart and honesty and not judging yourself harshly, you will get something out of it. You will feel better. I've heard you talk about even just when you wake up in the morning before you get out of bed, you can already start working your ankles a little bit, work your hips a little bit, and give yourself a little time, a little private therapy, physical therapy,
Right.
to just get the fluids moving, get your heart pumping, start just getting in connection with this vessel that you're walking around in all day before you get up. Even that, I consider that training, because you're preparing your body for the battles to come. You're fighting for a happy life. Who's going to go running into battle without a shield, without a sword, no food? You're going to lose that battle. So here is your chance. When you wake up in the morning, training has started. So whatever you have to do, whether that's dropping to the floor and stretching, or staying in bed and rolling, getting the joints moving around, whether that's praying, whether that's meditating, taking a big glass of water, whatever that is, you need to start preparing for the battle. Once you walk out that, do it. Can battle to fight for a happy life.
Whether it's baking a pie or just having a piece of it.
Amen to that. I absolutely, yes. A pie is powerful.
I love the pie. So anyway, here we are. We're still kind of like in COVID, and it's been a really long time. And so what's going on as far as your classes? I mean, do you have one school or two schools? I thought that you were training at several different places, or you had several schools, and I know one of them did close.
I've been a caretaker. Dawn Barnes Karate Kids. She was a pioneer in children's martial arts here in Los Angeles. And I've been, for 15 years, I've worked here with her to help caretake various numbers of locations over the years. We've lost most of them now. But one of them I was a co-owner in, so that was my dojo. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely on the side of not participating with other people currently. So it's been this long 9-month stretch with no Brazilian jiu-jitsu and no kung fu and not touching people. But I'm gearing up, kicking up the video production and gearing up for my next venture. Once all the restrictions are lifted, I will be back at it full time again. But I considered it kind of my chance to go into the mountains for a year. This is that chance that I would never have taken otherwise. We all think about things like that, like whatever busy life anyone has. You're like, "Whoa, Joy, boy, it would be great to go on a retreat for like a month, no cell phone, get rid of my responsibilities and just take a new path in life." And to me, this 9 months has been so far very rewarding, because very quickly I started saying, okay, well, what can I do? Because I trained myself to find the positives, find the opportunities. And the progress personally that I feel I have made in my training has been phenomenal. And I don't think I would have made any of these breakthroughs if I had been in my normal routine, because you get pulled into your old habits and your old routines. I was already in a routine, but being completely out of it and gives me this chance to explore brand new things that I never had a chance to look at, things that you would appreciate. Maybe everyone wouldn't, but hey, what does my foot do when I walk? Let's just start. What is my foot doing down there? Let's just throw out all my shoes. Let's just do barefoot for hours a day. I'm just going to start experimenting. I'm going to now redo all my kicks and stances and just see what that does. Hey, what about breathing? Hey, what are you doing with your wrist? You can just take any part of you and just go on a deep dive, and there will be benefits for that. So yeah, I'm having a great time in this pandemic. There's been tragedy all around. I don't mean to make light of that.
Yeah.
But hey, either you're fighting back, you're getting up, you're still throwing punches, or you're not. And I've chosen to be a fighter, and I encourage everyone to do the same.
I couldn't have said that any better myself. That was just amazing.
Well, thank you.
So how can people find you?
Well, whether they want to or not, I'm coming. I'm going to knock on every door at some point with a pie. Come on outside. Pies and punches. Come on. SenseiAndo.com will get you there. Fightforhappylife.com will get you there. Happy Life Martial Arts will get you there. Everything forwards to the same place. When you get there, the lights will be on. There's a podcast you're welcome to listen to. There's free weekly workouts. I welcome everybody. These are fundamental beginner workouts right now. So jump in. I welcome you to that. And of course, email me, say hello. I'm always answering questions. I'm in a great spot right now where I still have time to answer every email. I look at every comment on YouTube. So if I can help anybody in any way, I certainly can. I will.
I am going to have to check out one of those workouts. Are you doing them
Please.
live then, or are they?
No, not live. 'Cause I understand
Okay.
so many people around the world and craziness. So no, I record a live class here. I just set up the camera. I do like a 45 minute deal. I got my little plan for the week, and then just put it up on YouTube and let it fly. So having a good time so far.
I sure did love looking at that plank challenge that you had.
Ah, yes, the 5-minute plank. That was in the first workout. It was a
Yeah.
very nice, soft workout, and I finished with a 5-minute plank just to get people's attention.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, 5-minute plank. That looks like fun. I think I'll just go pour myself a glass of wine instead and watch you do it. I lived vicariously through you. Yeah.
Is
Then
that right?
the next day I did get down on the floor. I've got a little bit of mats down here in the girl cave, and got down and did a plank, and it was like, okay, that's been about 30 seconds. I'm done now.
Am I talking to the same Cheryl? Wait a minute. You're a fighter. You're a warrior. What are we talking about?
I am, but it's okay. What was it? It was 2 days ago. Did 3-hour ballet class.
Ooh.
3
Wow.
hours. I do 3 hours on Mondays and 3 hours on Wednesday. I wasn't feeling like a happy camper yesterday. I was just feeling terrible. And so I did a different ballet class with somebody else, again, in another part of the girl cave, the ballet part of the basement ballet. And it was just an hour and a half. And it was like, oh, this is so easy. It feels so good. And, after you're beating yourself on the head with a hammer for so long and you stop, it feels really good.
So you're really grinding the ballet still. That's a long session.
Yeah.
And you said you felt beat up the next day. So what are you not applying to your training that you still feel like you're getting beat up? Or are you just pushing yourself so hard? I'm curious because you're a master of movement.
It is.
And it must be discouraging to some people hearing that even you are getting beat up and getting, you need recovery days. I would like you just to clarify what you're saying so that people don't get turned off by that.
Okay. So, and I think I push myself really hard. I push myself a lot. And even sometimes, like I'll come upstairs and I'll just be, like crawling up the stairs. And I look at my husband and I say, why am I doing this? And he said, because you love it. And I'm going, maybe not. But I think the reason why I do it is because I can. And I don't know if you had seen like my history or my story, that I was actually a chronic pain patient when I was in my 30s. And for 2.5 years, I couldn't do anything. I mean, I couldn't even work. I had to cut my hours down. I was a respiratory therapist working in the hospitals at the time. And I actually had one of my caregivers finally after 2.5 years, and I kept spiraling down, getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And one of the doctors actually told me that I would never be able to do my grocery shopping and my laundry all in the same day because I would end up being bedridden because the arthritis in my spine was so severe. And I just looked at her and said, oh, you don't understand. I was 36. I said, I'm planning on going back to ballet class. And she laughed in my face and said, well, number one, you're too old for ballet. Number two, you're just way too injured. You're never going to have the life you wanted, the life you had before. And, then she told me to start applying for disability. And I was like shocked. And she said, oh, don't worry, but we'll take care of you. And I went home and I just hit rock bottom. And finally, it took a few days. But from somewhere deep in my soul, deep inside of me, I got my fighting spirit. And I said, this is not the life I chose. This is not the life I want. This is not the life I deserve. And I just fired all my caregivers. I fired my medical team. I stopped taking all the medication. I stopped doing the stupid stretches and exercises that the PTs gave me because they weren't working. And it took a long time. I added acupuncture. That's the only thing I did was acupuncture. And I taught myself how to move again, just like we did when we were little kids, when we were babies. And I already knew enough Pilates. I knew enough ballet movement. And that took me on another journey to something called Feldenkrais and a couple of other things. So yeah, and I think a lot of times I think about that person who told me that.
Did you send her a copy of the book?
No, I did not.
You've got to say, is she still alive? You probably outlived her.
I have no idea. I'm sure I did.
You find her, you send her a copy of the book and add a little extra F inside there, a little
Yes, yes, that another little F goes there. But here's the funny thing is there are a lot of times that I did think about her because it was like 20 years later and I thought, oh my God, she was right. I can't do my laundry and my grocery shopping all the same day because 3 to 5 days a week, I would take a professional level ballet class. And then I would turn around and I would drive to the dojo and I would do an hour and 15-minute, workout, a class there, a NIMPO class. And it was like, yeah, I'm too tired. I'll hire somebody to do my laundry and my grocery shopping. But I would think of her all that time. And if I had listened to her, and if I believed that, where would I be right now?
Oh man,
what
a great story.
It is. And I think there's a lot of people out there that get labels like that, that, well, you're too old. I mean, I started martial arts at 47 and everybody had a fit. You're going to get hurt. You're too old. And 10 years later, I became Mark's first female black belt and I'm still training. I did take a 3-year hiatus, but I'm still training. Well, not right now. I can't train with a mask on and around people. So I train down here and I'll go back as soon as we can.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people need to realize that they can heal from anything and everything. And I think martial arts is a really big part of that healing process.
Absolutely. Once again, it's a therapy of many forms. And of your story, as I'm listening to that, the one huge key takeaway, I think, for myself and for anybody, I hope, is who you trust as the authority to tell you what is or is not possible.
Right.
Listening to a doctor, listening to a sensei, listening to a guru, those are all great, but nothing ever should come between you listening to your own body. There is just so much wisdom. It's kind of a cliche about the wisdom inside your body, but there really is a ghost in the machine there that's helping you, trying to live, trying to thrive. And it's most of the time when you have a fear or you have some kind of blockage or frozen joint, it's because somewhere along the line, somebody convinced you, well, our family just isn't very flexible. Now you have that ghost hanging around in your head and you think, well, I can't do that. Or you have some doctor. I mean, I've heard that story so many times from different people saying a doctor told me I could never do this again. Of course, a lot of these doctors don't participate in any of these activities, are out of shape themselves, are taking a cigarette break outside. So they don't know anything about you and your body. So I've said this in some of my videos as well. So if you want to learn how to throw a sidekick, of course, I'm always open to advice and help, and of course, but at the end of the day, I need a heavy bag and my leg, and I'm going to listen to my leg, and I'm going to find the way that feels that the right way to push that bag away, and I'm going to feel the wrong way to push that bag. What I need to do, again, is to come at this honestly with myself, not trying to look like somebody, not trying to impress anybody. I just want to solve a problem. How do I use my foot from this angle to push that bag away consistently without me falling down or saying, ouch? It takes a little time, but if you give yourself that space and a little bit of nurturing love, you can explore and find miraculous things inside your body. I say miraculous, not religiously, but just you'll shock yourself like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like, for instance, my feet, I hadn't given much attention to this year. I hate talking about my feet, but even talking about it actually is a breakthrough for me because I would never have mentioned my feet before. But this year, because now it's giving me this extra time, I have a frozen, what do you call it? Rigidus, hallux rigidus, the big toe thing.
Yeah, bunion or no?
I hear it's very popular in ballet. The frozen big toe, bone spurs inside the big toe, so you can't bend your big toe.
Yeah.
I think it's hallux rigidus or something like that. So, and the doctor said you're gonna have to go in and shave that down or get an implant someday and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't know until this year, and I'm 50 years old. I did not know until I was sitting next to my wife one night and I'm thinking about my feet and working on my feet. And I said, how far can you curl your toes? And she can curl her toes like making a fist, like her toes go all the way around and knuckle up. And I'm looking at my feet saying, okay, do that. And nothing is happening. My toes are just sitting there like a clay pottery. I don't know what the heck's going on. But over these months, just to see that I could start gripping like a pencil or start bending my toes is this huge breakthrough.
That is huge.
If I just listened to the doctor say, well, you're going to need surgery right away and blah, 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 then I would have done that months ago and I wouldn't be where I am right now, which is stronger than ever, better balanced than ever. And just feeling, again, the empowerment of, hey, It's about me. What do I want to do with my body? And then working with my body, exploring and creating a new reality for myself. So I encourage everyone. I'm sorry if you've gotten bad news from your doctor. There are some things, of course, that might be insurmountable, but we're fighters. So you're never going to really know what's holding you down until you push back a little bit and start trying different plans, get creative, and just go for it. If you don't win, then you're going to end up right back where you were anyway. You didn't lose anything. But I bet you're going to gain something, because I have yet to come back from any doctor's appointment where I was told I shouldn't do any push-ups. I was told that. Don't do any more push-ups or punching. You shouldn't lift anything over your head. I was told that. I was told lots of things. And none of them turned out to be true. And they were well-meaning, just like you're a doctor. I'm sure she was well-meaning.
Right.
But there was a very limited amount of experience that she was drawing from. Most people do give up. That's just the sad reality. Most people don't fight back. That's what we were talking about earlier. They think fighting is bad. I don't want to disagree with my doctor. What are you talking about? She hasn't been through your journey. You owe it to yourself to fight. Fight for every degree of mobility in your joints. Fight for every beat of your heart to be a little bit stronger and move that blood around. Fight for every thought in your head to lead you in the right directions towards health and happiness. And that's the only way you're going to have the happiest life possible. You got to fight for it.
So I have to tell you, my feet are tingling right now. I've done a lot of work on my feet these past couple of years, but it is amazing. It's amazing how you can change your bone structure. You can change the structure of your joints. You can change the mobility of your joints. And it's not by cranking it. It's doing what you did with gentle movement exploration. And thank you for bringing all this up, because I tell people all the time, you are your own expert. And I think I might have heard you say that in one of your videos. You
are the greatest teacher you will ever have. I say it that way. Yeah, you're the greatest sensei you'll ever know. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
That's it. Okay. Well, Ando, this has been so fantastic. I have loved having you on the show. This is so wonderful. And thank you so much. I have to tell you, I was a little nervous, and I've been stalking you, and I'd been waiting for a while to get the nerve up to say, hey, dude, will you just be on my show?
Don't call me dude. What? Yeah. No, I'm honored. I mean, I could tell right from the start when I first started seeing your tweets and things. I was like, oh, she gets it. She knows what's going on here. She's on the same mission. We're maybe on different sides of the mountain. We're both winding up, and I'm just thrilled that our paths have crossed here, and I hope that they will continue to cross.
Oh, they will continue to cross, and I will tag you. I have a post coming up eventually. I think it's probably sometime in January. I can't remember, but I do have for one of my Cheryl's Kitchen posts.
Cool.
Mom's apple pie.
Oh boy.
And the woman had the best apple pie ever. So.
Excellent. Well, this will go right after your red wine lasagna recipe that I'm going to make. I swear, before this year is over, I'm going to make that lasagna. And if I can have an apple pie recipe to have after, then it'll be a whole Cheryl meal. That would be fantastic.
Oh, well, did you see my ballet bourbon balls?
Nope. I'm writing it down right now, though. Ballet
bourbon balls. When did I post that? I know maybe it's coming next week.
Okay. Well,
ballet bourbon balls. It's a great one.
Yeah. I'll be looking for it.
There you go. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And everybody, thank you so much for listening. And do check out Sensei Ando. He has got some of the most fantastic content I have ever seen. Really wonderful tips, great advice, high energy, as you can tell. I mean, this is just how he is. And remember to listen to your body, take some chances, learn some new movement patterns, check out some martial arts, just try and find whatever you can to help yourself fight for that happy life, because that is the way of the FemiNinja. And that's a wrap on another episode of the FemiNinja Project. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, be safe, be strong, and until next time, bye now.